So what happens if you take one of the most beloved video games of all time, an outcrying from fans which has been going on for the last 10 years, and then a video game announcement that was so much of a surprise that even the game's director didn't have any idea about it? What else? Final Fantasy VII Remake. Greetings guys, it is Team Clock back again for your listening and viewing pleasure. I'm Graham, he's Martin, and we've had a request from Joe on our Facebook page to have a little chat about a video game that's quite close to both of our hearts.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So, E3 2015, we got an announcement that nobody ever thought was going to come. The announcement is that Square Enix are going to remake Final Fantasy VII, so not remaster, they're going to remake it.
Yeah.
Came a bit out of the blue, so we'll have a little chat about what we think about it now, Martin. We both love Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, we do.
Final Fantasy VII was on your top 5.
Yeah, it's in my top
time.
5, yeah it is, yeah.
So let's start with you.
Alright, okay. I don't care.
You've got to care.
No, I'm not bothered.
Really?
Yeah, seriously, I'm not bothered. Tell you why I'm not bothered. See, the thing is there's been an outcry, like you mentioned, there's been an outcry from fans that people want this game, right? But do they? Right? Because here's the thing, you've all asked for a remake, right? A remake, not a HD remaster. You want them to start the game from scratch. Strip everything away and start again. What made Final Fantasy VII as good at what it was is the mishmash of everything, the music, the characters, and I mentioned all this in earlier videos. So you've got the characters, you've got the environments, you've got the way the characters were actually designed, you've got the story, the fighting system. Here's the thing, Final Fantasy VII was new to a lot of people, not just me, right? A lot of people who'd never played RPGs before, or never played a game that took the RPG world by storm by changing literally everything around because of the PlayStation 1, because of its power. We were able to just alter everything with regards to how it was played, how we're looking, everything like that. So it's got its place in history as being incredibly unique, and by taking people completely by surprise. Yeah. You're now asking them to get this idea which you loved when you were a kid, and to basically do the new Square Enix Final Fantasy thing with it. Yeah. The thing that people don't like. So you want them to do the thing you don't want them to do. Yeah. Like, people criticised 10. It started with 10. I'm telling you right now, it started with 10. The criticisms were starting with people going, hold on a minute, this isn't really what I was kind of wanting from a Final Fantasy game. 11 was online, so that was kind of its own thing. 12 divided a lot of people, again because of the way the characters looked, the way the story went, the battle system, everything like that. 13 polarised people more than ever before. I liked it. And well, you liked it.
I enjoyed it.
But the vast majority of people didn't like it. 14 online, fine. 15 is completely different. It isn't Final Fantasy now. It isn't Final Fantasy. As we traditionally know, as people of our age who grew up playing Final Fantasy 7, 8 and 9, it's not what we want, what we were expecting to play from a Final Fantasy game. No one could have predicted that. So what's happening now is you're now wanting people to start building the game from scratch, doing the thing you didn't want them to do to begin with. I can't buy it.
See, for me, I think what it boils down to is, I don't know if what people wanted was a remake. I think people wanted a remaster. People wanted a HD up-res. People wanted exactly the same game that they played 20 years ago. Yeah. But it looking better than it did previously, because let's be honest, Final Fantasy VII has not aged well. It looks horrendous when you go back and play it now. What people wanted was, I feel, what we got from the Final Fantasy X HD remaster was just some souped up graphics with a redone soundtrack, which the soundtrack for 10 HD was great. But I feel like that's what people want, and I don't think people want a remake, because Final Fantasy VII has its place in history, like you said.
Yeah, it does.
And people love it. This game cannot possibly end well.
No,
People, because people are going to latch on to any change that they've made. The first thing when we had the announcement of it was, we had a discussion about it, was the combat's going to change.
Yeah.
And then that was quite closely followed up a couple of weeks later by an announcement that the combat's going to change.
Yeah.
People are not going to like this at all.
No.
And the combat's going to be some sort of a hybrid, I think, between Final Fantasy XIII's and what we've got from Final Fantasy 15. And people are not going to accept it. They're not going to accept any change to what they loved about it. I also think the problem that they've got is that they've taken the hype away from Square Enix's other games that they've got coming out. So Final Fantasy 15 has been in development for years now, and we've only recently just started to hear more about Kingdom Hearts 3, but nobody cares about them anymore, because when you mention Square Enix now, everyone's about, right, what's happening with this Final Fantasy VII Remake?
Yeah.
It's one of these games that I think people want it, but they don't really want it. And I think it's not going to go down well when it eventually comes out, whenever that might be, which I think is years away.
You just think when you put on that game, if you get it, right, and every character is voiced. Right?
Yeah.
That's the problem you've got, because when we were growing up and we played that game, we've got in our own head what the characters will sound like in our heads. Do you know what I mean? Now you've got someone telling you what they will sound like.
Yeah.
They're going to change the script, obviously. There's so much text in that game, right? So much story. They can't possibly put all of that in to a cutscene. You remember there was bits in Final Fantasy VII where you'd be in a room and there'd be just a huge section where there's just people talking, but it's text, you can just read it. What they're going to do, all of that, in the new one, they're going to strip down the entire story. They're going to change how the characters act. They're going to change the script and voice them, aren't they?
It'll be voiced. There's no doubt about that. And see, my concern is how they choose to handle the voices, because the worst thing, you've seen Advent Children, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I've got it.
When Advent Children was released, everyone was like, wow, they're going to put a voice to these characters for the first time. So then it just became stereotypical voices. So Cloud sounded a little bit, angsty and
he was so miserable.
And Barrett was Mr. T.
He was Mr. T, yeah, but he was Mr. T,
which was so bad. But I think that's they can get it right. But I think they're going to have to develop this game. Unfortunately for guys like you and me who have a history with this game, they're going to have to develop it for an audience that's never played Final Fantasy VII before. So an audience who are getting into the Final Fantasy franchise now with the new games like 15.
Yeah.
Because one way or the other, the majority of old Final Fantasy VII fans are going to hate this game because it's not the game that they thought of in their head. So we've discussed Final Fantasy VII remasters over the years.
Oh yeah.
And it's not going to be what we expected it to be.
No, it's not. This isn't for us. This remake isn't for us. It's not. You hit that when you said that this is to try and appeal to a new audience. This isn't for me and you. I'm telling you right now, it's not.
But I want.
Why do you think? Well, the thing is though, they are bringing out the PC port of Final Fantasy VII at the end of this year. I think. I'll play that, mate. I'm much rather play that. I'd much rather give them money for that and not the remake.
Oh, no.
Leave the remake to the kids. Let them get on with it. You know what I mean? By the time the game comes out, mate, we could be 33.
Oh, easily. I mean, I think we're
he doesn't even know. What's it? Tetsuya Nomura?
He had no idea about it. The first he knew of directing this game was when he saw his name in that teaser trailer.
Oh my god!
What does that tell you?
Really?
See, the other thing for me as well is that the major problem that I've got with it is that Square Enix have compromised themselves, because they've said for years they will not release or they will not remake Final Fantasy VII until they've released a new game which is of comparable quality. And they haven't done that until now. No. And I think one way or the other, 15 will not be compared or regarded as highly as Final Fantasy VII was. So they've basically accepted and acknowledged that their recent games in Final Fantasy VII series have not been great. And they don't really hold that much hope of 15 being that great. So that's a concern for me. I mean, Final Fantasy VII has fallen a little bit from where it was. There's just the Final Fantasy series in general. It's not the way that it used to be. And I know the series has to evolve, but that's why I think it'll not go down well for guys of our age.
Yeah. When I heard the news, I was like,
I was excited. Because I pegged it in our predictions.
Yeah, you pegged it. You had a prediction that it was going to happen. Did you?
Yeah, I said Square Enix, because Square Enix were doing a conference that Final Fantasy VII we announced. Now I was wrong that they didn't announce it at the Square Enix conference, but they announced it at the Sony conference. See, the reaction from the crowd was fantastic. They were all excited.
It's E3 hype, man.
Yeah, but
it's E3 hype. We would do exactly the same thing.
Oh well, we did.
If we saw a friggin' mobile game, an iOS game, Final Fantasy, we would have. The hype of being an E3 clouds your judgment, man. I'm telling you, it does now. But Final Fantasy VII Remake.
So guys, there you have it. Final Fantasy VII Remake. We love it, and we're very, very dubious. But what do you guys think when you saw the announcement at E3? Were you excited? Were you nervous? Were you angry? Do you want to see this game come out? If so, how much change to the game would you accept? Do you want it word for word, action for action? Or are you happy for it to be a completely different beast? Let us know in the comments below. As always, if you like the content, like, subscribe, that'd be brilliant. You can follow us on Twitter, we are at Team Clocked. You can now follow us on Facebook as well, we are facebook.com/Team Clocked. As always, follow me, I am at GrimmyD1, he is the Digital MB. And as always, please send us your thoughts for your topic ideas as well. We'd love to know what you want to hear us discuss. And we'll be back soon with more. Until then, cheers.
Thanks.